So we're in Copenhagen, we're at DTW23, and I'm here with Brendan O'Brien. He is Chief Innovation Officer and co-founder at Aria Systems. Now, Brendan, before we get into industry talk, can you tell us about Aria Systems, where the name came from, and why indeed we are holding these very lovely glasses of a beautiful smelling nectar?
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for coming by, Ray. Aria Systems is called Aria because originally my career before deciding to move into the world of computing was as an opera singer. And I basically got tired of being permanently poor, realized that coding paid better, and moved on. So this is my homage to my former life.
Okay.
Yeah. And you want to talk about that now?
Yeah. Now, well, and what is this?
So this,
what have we got here?
This is Roe & Co, or Roe & Company, but everybody calls it Roe & Co. It is a blended Irish whiskey that's matured in bourbon casks, which is a very common way to mature Irish whiskey. They, the kind of one of the things of Irish whiskey is they mature it in a variety of casks that were used for some other purpose. Bourbon cask, sherry cask, rum cask. It's kind of its thing. And a lot of other types of whiskey do that now, but that's been the Irish whiskey thing for quite a while. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it smells amazing, and we're going to taste this as well.
I'm going to drink while you talk. How's that?
Right. Well, okay. And then likewise. So, so the big news here, I guess, for Aria Systems is the recently announced partnership with Salesforce. Now, lots of companies have all sorts of partnerships and collaborations. You know, is there anything different about the relationship between Aria and Salesforce? And can you tell us how it all came about?
Yeah, so we know this is quite a different thing. And I have a term for those kinds of other partnerships. I call them Barney partnerships. So I don't know if it has a social relevance in the UK, but in the US we had a children's television show called Barney, the big purple dinosaur. Yeah. I love you, you love me. And in my book, most partnerships, the vast majority, 90+% fall into that category. It's all words, it's an announcement that's made to try to generate business, and if it does or doesn't, so be it. This is a very different partnership. First of all, it was forged in the field. We found ourselves with multiple common customers, and that's not actually accidental, right? We Aria are a native SaaS, multi-tenant, truly native public cloud system, same as Salesforce. So the kinds of buyers that were attracted to our solution for billing, naturally gravitated to their solution for CRM, CPQ, and EPC. And so all of a sudden we found ourselves together again and again and again. And of course that included having to build integrations, and it didn't take too long before both of us realized time to make this union official. So we did that with a very real integration. So we are fully integrated through the MuleSoft layer using the TM Forum Open API, the ODA model, and it's kind of a natural fit. And the other thing is, it really is not just a functional fusion that fits, right? They're effectively a BSS stack without a biller, and we're a biller. So the whole is pretty fit, but we go to market the same way. We evangelize to this day on the benefits of having a SaaS-based solution versus an on-prem solution, where in a SaaS-based solution like ours and like theirs, everybody's on the same code line all the time, and that sounds terrifying to a lot of telecom buyers, but there's huge benefit in that, right? One, you achieve the same thing that you used to achieve only by customization through configuration, right? You configure our product, you configure their product. The code line remains the code line. You're not on a different version. And then when upgrades come out, everybody gets the upgrade, right? There's nobody who's ineligible for the upgrade because they customize their solution so far away from the natural original, code line. Since we have the same deployment model, the same commercial basic model, as well as very complementary functional fits. Great combined solution.
With any of these kind of relationships, there's a lot of detail in it. But if people wanted to take away, say, two key things about this relationship, what would they be? What would be the two things that you would give in the elevator pitch?
Yeah. First of all, it is, as far as any of us can tell, it is the world's first end-to-end native SaaS BSS solution. So That's big words. And around here, I mean, how many times have you seen the word cloud? The problem is this word cloud has often become falsely synonymous with what SaaS is and remains to this day, right? We are multi-tenant platforms. And again, the primary benefit to this world is that massive problem of upgrade ineligibility that eventually comes from having customized in the past is gone. So when we push new code and when they push new code, we're reacting just like everybody to customer demand. So if part of our customers want this feature or that feature, we bake it into the product. When we roll it out, everybody gets it. So you don't have to wait around for just your thing to come out the door. Every customer is constantly benefiting from what every one of our combined customer sets get. And there's another thing, which is we, both Salesforce and Aria, we're both, call it, forged in the world of horizontal applications. Neither of us were designed purely to serve telecom. And that has begun over the course of a decade or so from being something that works against us to something that works for us. Okay. Because right now, look, again, you've been walking the show for a couple of days, they're all saying telco moving to techco or things along those lines. Well, that's exactly what we've been doing for all these years. So if you want to start billing for data center utilization or software licenses or downloaded content, good luck getting a lot of these legacy systems to be able to support that because it's not what they were built to do. But we've been billing for any number of things to any number of buyers for literally years and years, and so have they. So that horizontal, those creds are exactly what these buyers are now looking for.
Before we move on and chat some
You
more.
want to do some more, don't you?
So, this was great, but I understand there's lots of different flavors you can get from different.
This guy was, this is kind of a stereotypical Irish whiskey. It's blended, it's aged in bourbon casks, and what you get probably is a caramel, vanilla, yeah? No?
Yeah.
Now that I'm saying it, maybe it's a little bit.
You're influencing me.
Okay.
You're on influence.
Okay, I'm an influencer. Well, let's go to something that's dramatically different.
Oh, okay.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, put your glass aside. Here's a new glass. Yeah. So now we're going to try this guy, the Connemara. So if you're a Scotch drinker, this will have a more familiar feel to you. Are you a Scotch drinker?
No.
Neither am I, but for different reasons. So this is the Connemara. So this is a single malt, and it is peated. So I think you will.
Whoa.
Yeah. So yeah, not my favorite, but there are people who really love this.
Okay.
I kind of think it's like licking the bottom of a lawnmower, but wanted to give you the full thing.
You're really selling it.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers. Give it a shot. Yeah.
Right. So while you have a sip of that, so you were talking there about the horizontal model that you've always had. That now that telcos, network operators are shifting the way they work and using the techco label. That this is now playing into what you're doing, but these things take time. Changes in patterns and adoption doesn't happen overnight in this industry. So how can you get companies, the CSPs, who are wanting to become digital service providers from communication service providers, to really buy into this SaaS-based subscription kind of model that you're proposing to the sector?
So the easiest route is to isolate those net new, either aspirational lines of business, brand new lines of business, right? And a lot of these operators have it, right? They've got an IoT division over here, or an automotive division over there, or a data center monetization. We often will go after that. And once they kind of see the power of the platform there, we can start to figure out how we can potentially start to disrupt the traditional lines of business. Sometimes it's even more direct than that. So, for some of our customers, we go with what we call a peaceful coexistence model. They have existing customers. They're already selling them traditional telecom products. They want to start selling more and different products to those same customers on a unified bill. How do they do that? So we were designed as a purely API-driven platform. So we're designed to integrate with anything. We don't care. It's not like you have to live entirely inside of our box. So what we are able to do is sit side by side with that traditional legacy monolithic biller who's not going to go anywhere today. Let it continue to come along doing the thing that it's always done and everybody's afraid to touch it. And then we will come along and start actually figuring out how to charge and monetize for the other net new stuff, software licenses or whatever it happens to be. And then we integrate with that system. We share the customer master record, we calculate line items and push it into that system for it to simply present on the bill it's already presenting. When payment comes in, we grab it and we figure out how much goes here and how much goes there. And then we rationalize all that through the general ledger on the back end. There's a lot of billing wonky talk there, but the point is, it's not an either-or proposition. It doesn't have to be. Right. Now, eventually, the goal for us, plainly, is for you to go, well, that thing is easier and better and moves quicker and is more agile than the thing over here in the basement. Let's maybe talk about swapping that out. And that happens too, but we know we can't go to market shoving that down people's throats. It won't work.
But are you getting traction in the market? Is this resonating?
It is. Boy, is this a slow market to wake up. And I'll amend that. Very fast to talk the talk and very slow to walk the walk. But it is definitely picking up a lot of pace. And, part of it is Salesforce. I mean, part of the reason this partnership is so important to us is, they're a much bigger entity, much more adept at opening up doors than we, Aria alone are. So that's definitely adding a lot of fuel to the fire. And this show has been, by far has generated more buzz for us than any other prior appearance of this show. So.
Well, I think there's a reason for that. I mean, there's a specific kind of attendee that comes to this show. I wish there were more. I think there should be more.
I agree.
I think this is all of the operators are talking about how they can make more money and be more efficient, and this is the place, I think, to find it out. So, this is clearly the right place for you. But apart from your relationship with this event and the people who come to this event, what's your relationship with the TM Forum, the organization that runs this event, and how does that work for you?
Yeah, I guess there are two things about TM Forum and ODA in particular. We're a point solution. We don't come to the table as an end-to-end suite solution. Aria doesn't, right? Unlike a lot of these other much larger monolithic players who, claim to solve every BSS and OS problem you might have. We're a point solution, we're a biller. And when you're a point solution, you live and die by your ability to seamlessly connect to everything else. And what does that mean? That means APIs. The problem is, up until fairly recently, having an API was great, but your API was your API. So having a standardized API that we can conform to just makes the whole point solution selling proposition, the best of breed selling proposition, just infinitely easier. In fact, it's so much easier that we actually utilized it in building the integration with Salesforce. Why not, right? The other thing about the ODA is that it aspires to, again, push the telco into the techco world, right? It goes out of its way, maybe arguably not enough, I would say, but it is definitely attempting to move the thinking beyond just that which the telecom operator traditionally knows, because that's where they know they need to go. And it is reflected in the API, unlike some other attempts at standardization of APIs, which remain so heavily telco focused. This one tries to broaden its perspective, and that's very important to us, and we think it's very important to the buyers. So,
okay.
And again, this show is so concentrated in terms of its focus, and it brings to the table the buyers that we're very much trying to reach, and it's high on content and low on noise. So.
And a growing number of these companies, of course, are involved in the whole, deploying ODA, building their future, architecting their IT systems around ODA. So, that's clearly a good way to go.
Yeah.
And that number is increasing there.
Yeah.
I feel that this, I think you were right about this one. It's very different to the first one.
Hard, right? I mean, if you get past that grassy taste and you again can kind of find that caramel vanilla thing underneath of it, maybe.
I missed that.
Well, okay. You ready for another one?
Oh, there's another one. Yeah. Let's go.
Let's put that aside. All right, get a clean glass. Can you grab your glass right there? Here, grab your glass. All right, so.
Whoa. And we're only two in.
As predicted. So this is green spot.
That's it.
This is GreenSpot. So GreenSpot, there's a consortium, Mitchell and Sons. So what they do, it's kind of interesting. They actually source their whiskey from Jameson. So, but in its original distilled but unaged form. So they basically it's moonshine, but in the Irish term it's called pochine, right? Which is they distill it. It's not aged. It's clear. It has no character, but it has extremely high alcohol content. And they take that, and then these guys age it themselves, and they have their own casks and their own structure. It's a combination of casks, so it spends some time in ex-bourbon casks and some time in ex-sherry casks. So this one has it's going to be less caramel and vanilla and a little bit more citrus maybe.
Okay.
But then again, I'm
less agricultural than the previous one. Yeah?
Agricultural, yeah. There you go.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
So obviously, as I already mentioned, one of the big themes here, and it's come up in every conversation, every presentation, I think, artificial intelligence, been around for years, but it's really, such a hot topic now because of generative AI. How does AI fit into Aria's strategy, into its products, and the way that you are developing what you offer to the market?
Yeah. So our approach to providing an AI solution mirrors Aria's approach to pretty much everything else that we've ever done when it comes to interconnectivity between Aria and other systems. So that's a long-winded way of saying, we don't build dependency in our product on any platform, and they include Salesforce. We didn't build our platform on the Salesforce. We are independent, designed to plug into anything. That mantra overlays every single thing we ever do, and we applied that same thinking to our AI data share product. So what that is us saying, look, we don't know what LLM and what either generative AI or predictive AI ultimately layer rides on top of your solution. Our job is to provide billing data up to that layer, but to do it in a way that prevents one of the key problems that generative AI often suffers from, which is it can expose things you don't want it to expose. So think about it in the billing and customer care world. The number one driver of customer care calls across the entire telecom industry, in fact, across the world, is why is my bill so high? Something like 40% of all calls are some form of that question. Or what can I do to lower my bill? And the best way to answer that question often means examining what you do as a customer versus what other people do. But the problem is you expose all that customer data without a lot of guardrails in place to an AI engine, and it's going to start spitting out stuff you don't want it to spit out, right? It's going to tell Ray everything about Brendan's bill, and that's not the goal. The goal is to compare Ray to his cohort, inclusive potentially of Brendan, but other people, and to do it anonymously and in a protected form. So rather than telling the world that may want to apply an AI engine on top of our data, okay, start training that AI engine to put those guardrails in place. We put the guardrails in place and pre-sanitize the data before we push it up. So that's what we've done. We've broken our data set into 3 collections of data: our product catalog data, the personal data of the one customer that's in context at that point in time, and then the depersonalized, aggregated, and anonymized data for everybody else. Okay. And because it's separated that way, the AI engine merely needs to be trained to go after this data here, and this data there. And that's a pretty easy thing to do. And as a result, it can then take the very personalized things it knows about you and your bill, you being the person asking the question, and safely compare it to the things that are like you without exposing any of that stuff. And none of that training to protect the innocent needs to happen at the AI layer at all. And it's agnostic, right? So we designed it to feed the Einstein AI and LLM models as well as any other LLM that's out there.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a really useful approach and something that cut out a lot of time and effort.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So a lot going on in your world, a lot going on here at DTW, and a lot going on this table here as well. we've tasted 3 Irish whiskies.
We have them all laid out. Look, there's the Rowan Co., there's the Green Spot, and there's the Connemara. What do you think?
Okay. Well, I have to say, for me, my favorite was Rowan Co.
Okay, mine too.
This is a nice little cleanser.
Okay, yeah, a little bit more of a bite.
But I have to ask, why? Why are we drinking Irish whiskey while we're talking about SaaS?
Do you want the marketing answer or the plain truth answer? I'll give you both.
Give us both.
Okay. So from a market, and I will admit the marketing answer is a stretch. The plain truth answer is what matters. The marketing answer is, so Irish whiskey has an interesting history. Irish whiskey precedes Scotch whiskey. The world knows about Scotch. The Irish taught the Scotch how to make whiskey. Now, if you're Scottish and you don't want to hear that, I'm sorry if I'm offending you, but it is absolutely factually true. But what happened was during the Great Depression, Scotch whiskey shipped to the United States in bottles, shipped around the world in bottles. They bottled it and they shipped it. And that made it obviously less susceptible to being tampered with. But Irish whiskey shipped in kegs. And when it shipped over to the United States in kegs, during Prohibition, when it was illegal to sell alcohol at all, and it was only like black market and the Al Capone and such, they would open up these kegs and they would water them down. And so what happened was Irish whiskey gained an unfair reputation as being weak, tasteless, awful, sometimes even like poisonous because it would water it with like grain alcohol or medicinal alcohol. And that killed the Irish whiskey market. And during the course of Prohibition, it went from being over 90% of the world's share of whiskey worldwide, Scotch being a blip, to the other way around. And it took decades for it to recover. But there's a truth to Irish whiskey and its value and its wonderfulness that I feel an evangelistic need to expose. And that evangelism is identical, frankly, in its spirit to the evangelism behind the company that I founded. And this,
Okay.
yeah. The truthful answer, I just freaking love Irish whiskey. There you go. Yeah.
Well, I'll drink to that.
All right, cheers.
Brendan, great to talk to you.
Yeah, you too, thanks.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.